standings real quick. Newark. Okay, that's what I thought. Sure.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to BowlTV for continued coverage of the 2019 USBC Senior Masters taking place at the Samstown Hotel and Gambling Hall in Las Vegas, Nevada. My name is Aaron Smith, sitting alongside Daniel Farish as we prepare for 15 more games today over the course of 3 squads. So we will get down to our top 64 by the end of the evening as the tournament transitions to double elimination match play starting tomorrow. These competitors have 10 games in the books already. 15 game totals will determine the top 63 players joining. Our defending champion Chris Warren of Grants Pass, Oregon, in the bracket. Definitely have a ton to discuss over the course of the day. We had people make huge moves towards the top of the standings. We had some of our day one leaders struggle quite a bit in day 2. We've had some players who have been consistently near the top. And then, of course, the great question, who's going to make a run? Definitely some bigger names outside the cut number heading into our 3 squads today. Bowling on the lanes at the moment are C squad competitors, so they kicked off competition on Tuesday on the double burn. Had the burn yesterday, and this is their first look since practice day at the 40-foot fresh condition in play this week. The pattern, as mentioned, 40 feet in length, 31.185 mils for the volume. Using the Kegel Ice Oil. Kegel, the official lane maintenance provider of USBC short duration events. Also a gold industry partner for the USBC, along with Brunswick, Columbia 300, Ebonite, Hammer, Roto Group, and Storm. Throughout the course of these 3 days, each squad has had one 5-game block to face each variation of this 40-foot pattern, one on the fresh, one on the burn, and one on the double burn, so the lanes oiled only once per day. We saw some pretty dramatic changes in how the competitors kind of played the lanes yesterday compared to day 1 on Tuesday. As how about Lance Emerson? Washout to kick things off. 1 conversion and then a 3-7 in frame 2. Let's get that one too. So Lance staying clean the hard way. He is literally at the cut number heading into today's competition, was just 1 pin ahead of the number. We'll run down those numbers in a moment, but let's meet our competitors here on our featured pairs, 19 through 22. To your left, as Alex Arizala delivering the strike in the second frame. He's joined by Ricky Schisler of Denver. Ricky near the top of the standings, entering today's competition in a 4th place overall. Actually could have taken the overall lead. Stepping up in the 10th frame last game, the way it worked out, he had the front 9, but a split on his first shot dropped him to plus 312. And into 4th place overall. Noel Vasquez, also on our featured pair. Noel, the owner of 1 title on the PBA 50 Tour, the Northern California Classic back in 2016. And as we mentioned, Lance Emerson. So Lance gets his first strike of the day. Over on 21 and 22, we have Bob Newman up on 22, far right of your screen, along with Mr. 300, Bob Learn Jr. They're joined by David Schumacher and John Bertolina. On the lanes right now, Doug Kent is our overall leader, USBC and PBA Hall of Famer, and a 2-time Kids Masters champion. We call it the Kids now since we're at the senior event, but Doug won his first career major at the 1991 Masters, and then back in 2006 won number 2 on his way to winning PBA Player of the Year that same season.
That's quite a stretch between Masters titles, between any 2 titles in the same tournament. 15 years, man.
15 years, but Dougie Fresh, as the kids like to call him, has been consistent so far, and he said the big key for him this week has been maintaining his speed and kind of keeping that under control. That's been the touchiest part of the pattern so far from what he's seen. He's bowled on the burn and the double burn and the burn his first 2 squads. So this will be his first chance to catch the fresh since the practice session. But Daniel, you're looking dapper as ever today with your LU colors and your tie and everything. So what do you expect from what has been kind of a pretty exciting 2 days of qualifying, which, sometimes is, it's more of a matter of just getting to 15, but we've kind of had a lot of ups and downs throughout these first 2 days.
I really hope we see, as confusing as it was last week in the Super Senior with the cut doing all that stupid stuff that it did, that final squad, I'm hoping we see something similar, whether it's the cut unexpectedly drops, which I don't think is going to happen. I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen. Or it jumps a bunch, or it just bounces, up and down like we saw last week. But I want to see the cut do some confusing things and add some calamity to this tournament, more so than these players already have trying to navigate this oil pattern.
As we mentioned, Doug Kent leading the way at plus 337. That's a 233.7 average for 10 games so far. When we scroll all the way down to number 64, because our defending champion Chris Warren currently tied for 40th, so he is within the number. Hugh Miller, our runner-up at the Super Senior Classic, holding down the 64th spot at plus 153, so that's a little better than a 215 average so far. So pretty on par to what we've heard a few folks predict. David Waswell actually said 215, a 215 average over the course of 15 games, probably going to be there. You were right around there yesterday as well, so that's we actually dropped two pins. It was 217 after round 1, dropped to 215.3 with Hugh Miller at the 64th spot. But we'll
because it was 85 after day 1, correct?
It was 85 over.
85
yes.
over, yeah, okay.
That was Henry Dawson. John, pretty good shot there. Definitely creating some angle with this higher volume of oil.
And you know, one thing that could create some issues today, you said that Chris Warren was tied for 40th right now at plus 188, is if he is on that bubble, because he's going to make the cut no matter what, defending champion gets in. But if he's outside the top 64, then the top 63 make that cut. So him being outside the number would add a lot of confusion to it as well.
It certainly can. We saw that at the USBC Masters. Get that 9-pin out of there,
right.
Alex. All right. Saw that at the USBC Masters earlier this year in Las Vegas. Andrew Anderson, the defending champion, was unable to work his way into the top 64, so that did affect that number by 1 spot. Andrew, for qualifying, really wasn't like teetering the line, if you will, so he's a little bit farther back in the standings.
Correct.
So for the most part, the guys kind of knew that, all right, we're going to be aiming for 63 here. Andrew wasn't going to be jumping in, jumping out, as it turned out. The big story, I feel, yesterday was Brian Leclerc. Obviously, Doug Kent leading overall is big-time news, but Brian Leclerc had himself a day. The 2017 PBA 50 Player of the Year after a not-so-fun -26 performance on the Fresh on Tuesday, which started with games of 145 and 170. Leclerc, he got going yesterday and went from 212th in the standings all the way to 15th with games of 248, 277, 255, 278, and 235 for a 1293 5-game block. That's a 258 average, along with some additional change.
Brian went -51 and finished 151st at the Kids Masters about a month and a half ago. While you were gone on the low end of the house filming a 300 attempt, which was actually converted by, I believe it was Jim Montgomery yesterday.
Jimmy M, yeah.
Matt and I were talking, and Matt said that they were drilling up a new ball. One of the perks of being a player on Doug Kent's level is you do have access to equipment that others may not, and some may view that as unfair, but I would say that Doug's credentials and his resume have earned him that perk. So it'll be interesting to see. I saw him throwing the ball that Matt said they were going to drill in practice. I don't know if he started with it or not, but it'd be interesting to see if that ball comes into play for him or if he relies on something else in the bag that he's had throughout the week.
It's definitely interesting chatting with Doug, and obviously you don't become a Hall of Famer in 2 national organizations from not knowing your stuff, but it was very interesting to kind of talk to him just about how he is able to control his speed and how that was his most important key. Obviously, there's a lot of other aspects that go into it, but definitely relies on his tempo. Said he wanted to be a little bit lighter on his feet to kind of slow down the ball to pick up in the mid lane and kind of create that proper motion through the pins to find consistent carry, and obviously averaging 233 plus will will lend itself to a handful of doubles and three-baggers throughout the course of competition. Looks like we've got a few guys striking here in the early going on the low end of the house. And Leto with a early five-bagger.
Well, I know it's easy to say this about a guy like Doug Kent, but I stand by what I said after practice yesterday during the Burns squad. I really liked the way the ball was coming off his hand. I liked his direction. I liked the motion that he had. And, I mean, I wish I could say that I called the upset in Doug Kent leading qualifying after day two. But, you know, what I said when I saw from him, it really looked like he was going to have a good look, and he exploited this pattern. And I say that he was only 23 pins ahead of day one. I think he went 11:57 and 11:80.
Correct.
On his two squads. So, you know, can he keep it? If he can keep up that scoring pace today, I would be thoroughly impressed. And given the history of these tournaments the last couple of years, whether it's Senior Masters or the Queens, which is a similar format, if he's your number one qualifier going into tomorrow, he'll probably get beat first round.
Yeah, it hasn't necessarily been the most redeeming situation the past couple events. At the USBC Queens last month, Liz Johnson was the top overall qualifier, and she ended up losing her first match. And same could be said at the Masters this year with Solomon Salama, a 16-year-old two-hander from California. Ended up drawing Andrew Anderson in that aspect, and Andrew was able to collect the win.
If I was Solomon, I know he's 16, so maybe if I was his coaches or his overseers, I might have said, "Hey, buddy, leading qualifying is cool, but you may want to drop down a spot, because right now you're going to get Andrew Anderson." I don't even know who was 63rd. I know that our good friend over at the OC, Adam Barta, missed the cut by one. He was the 64th bowler. The cut was plus 69. But
I don't think there's really any good draws
there's not
in that situation.
And we talked about that yesterday. While the field can be separated from first down to 64th, you're still talking about the elite senior players in the country, and in some aspects, we do have international players, the world here. 1 through 64, while they may be separated, it's not like you're talking 1 to 1,000 or something.
Oh, for sure.
Something wider than that. This isn't a local association tournament where the top 100 bowlers from a city show up, and 1 to 64 is a huge gap. These are the best in the country and the world.
Mm-hmm. Looks like Daryl Washington over on 5 and 6 has the front to 8. That's on my side. And Mileto had 6 in a row for a 7 count in frame number 7. Some guys getting some strikes here on the fresh. Ricky Schizler makes it 3 in a row and 5 out of 7 so far. Henry Dawson open, then a 7-bagger on 29 and 30. Michael Clausen looking for the front 7 at 35-36. All right, I'm going to go check on Mr. Daryl Washington, who was minus 19 to start today.
I may be meandering on down to the high end to go check on a couple runs down there as well.
All right, some scores here, early going. Game 1 of C Squad, Round 3, 2019 USBC Senior Masters.
Looks like Darrell Washington down on lane 5 did indeed get that strike in the 9th, so Aaron is settled in behind lanes 5 and 6. See if we can pick up yet another 300. I believe it would be the fourth 300 of the tournament. We had 1 on day 1, and then I know of 2 yesterday. Taking a look at some other potential big scores throughout the house. Just a few pair down. Emiletto, front 6, spare. He's 260 max through 8 frames. Don Breeden, 2 pairs over, looking at 260 max through 8 frames. Tournament leader Doug Kent, front 3, spare. And just too many names to name that have max possibilities, through 8 or 9 frames in the 240, 250 range. We've kind of seen this over the course of the last week or so in this building, and this isn't just a characteristic of this building or these couple of tournaments. This is most tournaments. You get 15 minutes of warm-up on a pair. That first game, the odds are in your favor that it's going to be a good game. You've got a really good feel for the pair. Whether you intentionally broke it down the way you wanted or not, you know exactly what the pair is giving you. And then I think game 2 is when we start to see scores drop a little bit because, as you know, guys are moving pairs left and right, and you don't necessarily know what the guys in front of you did to the pair you're going to. So the first couple of frames may be more of a crapshoot or educated guesses than anything else, and sometimes that can lead itself to non-strikes, as we all know. I thought Ricky was begging a little bit for that hit. I think he was unlucky to leave that 7-8, but I didn't see that ball getting back from where he got it out to. Bob Learn Jr. crumbles the 4-pin back, looking at a possible 250 as he's going to step up in the 10th frame momentarily. Waiting for David Schumacher, who's put 3 strikes on the back end of 3 opens this game. Oh, that high flush 7-pin we talked about last week. We saw more than a handful of those at the Super Senior. Oh, Robert Newman. Uh-oh, Aaron's coming back. Oh, he just shook his head. Let's scroll down on live scoring and see what we can see. I'm guessing maybe a first shot miss. Yeah, 6 count. I'm guessing either a bucket or a 3-6-9-10. Oh, he just shook his head. No. Maybe a washout? No. Well, it's not a red number, so it's not a split. I'm trying to think of what 6 count could be left that wouldn't be a 3-6-9-10 or a bucket or a washout. Something common.
It was something common.
He missed the head pin?
He missed the head pin.
1-2-4-8.
1-2-4-8.
Ah. See, I was giving him more credit than I should have.
They definitely got it right.
On that pair, though, Pat Nolan, 246, finishes with back-to-back spares. He was looking at a possible 270. Jeff Suma, 235. Waiting on Washington. We're waiting on live scoring. He's probably already thrown the spare attempt. We're waiting on live scoring to update.
I know you're talking about Doug Kent. I'm not sure what type of bowling ball they were talking about drilling up for him.
It was a purple idol.
He was not throwing that at the moment, so.
He didn't like that off his hand. That's back-to-back bad breaks we've seen on light pocket hits. Granted, Ricky Schisler got his a little further right than I think he should have expected it to come back. I think Bob Learn had a little bit better chance, but Schisler on that, trying to get into that 240, 230, 240 range and leaves a light 7-8. And now Bob Learn Jr. with a light 2-7. Not that there is a high flush 2-7, so I feel like it's a little redundant to say light 2-7. Noel Vasquez finishes out 230, gets the plus 130, so on the outside looking in right now with 4 games to go. Bob Learn going to convert this. Does not. He just asks himself, how does that not cross? The level-headed bowler who's not competing right now in me says, well, there's 31 units out there, Bob. But the bowler in me would have that exact same reaction. How in the world does that not get across the lane?
Yes.
But when we're bowling, we're not exactly all level-headed.
Of course not.
Especially when we split the 10th like that on a possible 250 game. He is not happy. Just lost a possible 37 pins. He'll be at 139 over after that game. Another one of those guys, not necessarily in the danger zone, but definitely outside of the cut. And as we all know, 256 is a bigger number than 222.
And just glancing across the house, there's some numbers out there on the fresh. So
that's what I was saying. I said there's not, I was scrolling through live scoring, and while we didn't have anybody else that was stringing them on front X amount of strikes, there were a lot of possible 240s, 250s out there, all over the place.
And obviously, if you're hitting the fresh on day 3, the information has been passed along. You've been out here watching. And for some of these guys, that this is the end of the road, essentially, without a big block.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're seeing a little bit more aggressive strategy, kind of across the board, or at least walking down to the low end for Daryl's run there at the front 9. We've seen a little less conservative, kind of hovering around that first arrow we kind of saw on day 1, where guys are trying to stay a little bit farther out. It seems like we're getting more aggressive as each block has gone on.
Yeah, because they don't have time to wait for the lane to come to them. On the fresh, with there being no other variables involved in this decision making on the fresh, you sometimes have to wait for it to come to you. For some players, their natural games aren't going to lend them to hitting the fresh early. They have to wait a little longer than some others. I'm a player like that. You and I are players like that, where on the fresh we struggle a little bit. We've got to wait for a little bit of breakdown. But then you've got some guys, obviously, in this field, whether they can open the lane up naturally or just their equipment matches up at that time, they can strike a lot early. But no matter what your style of game is, if you came into today and you're bowling this morning on the fresh and you're plus 100 or under, you can't wait. You've got to go out and get pins almost out of the gate.
Got to be aggressive. B-E aggressive.
B aggressive. B-E aggressive.
Let's go. There we go. It's already an exciting day here on BowlTV. We only still got 14 games to go today, Daniel.
That's a lot.
That's true, but the good news is, for those of you regular BowlTV subscribers, you know, and have been tuning in each and every week for some great inside analysis on the latest happenings in the bowling world. Be sure to check out the BowlTV Central podcast, where the BowlTV crew recap and preview the biggest events in bowling. Some great stuff from the PWBA Sonoma County Open just last week, from the podcast formerly known as On the Road. Emil Williams Jr. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the week as well, joining 2019 USBC Queens champion Dasha Kovalova for a very casual Q&A, if you will, on the mini golf course. So be sure to check that out on the Backstage channel here on BowlTV. Brant is getting eager in the chat. Have you met Brant yet, Daniel?
I have not. If I have, he was among a throng of people I met all at once, and I don't remember, but I don't think I have.
Gotcha. He is certainly tough to forget. But Brant joining us from Arlington, Texas in the chat, and will be helping us out throughout the course of the event. So that's kind of Brant's role, is kind of the help folks out and make sure they're getting all the action, taking care of promos and overlays and all that good stuff. So we'll have a giveaway coming up a little bit later this round. Brent's a big he's a big Miami Dolphins fan, but he has this collection of all former Dolphins players jerseys.
I feel for him. My best friend's a Dolphins fan, and it's tough to watch.
It gets that way from time to time. But
granted, I'm a Vikings fan, so we've never won a Super Bowl. We're 0-4. So I feel for my Dolphins fan best friend. At least they had Marino.
Well, that got him a second place finish too. So.
True.
But I was joking with Brant on the broadcast that he has all these, I don't want to call them vintage, but like he would have the random player jersey. He was like kind of that guy. So all these guys don't play for the Dolphins anymore. So I always encourage that he's finally given away some of his jerseys as a giveaway. But usually it actually ends up being bowling related, which is cool. We gave away an autographed Chris Barnes card on day number 1, and we have a few things to give away today. Brant won't tell me what they are because he's very secretive like that. But we will be looking forward to one of those giveaways towards the end of the block as we prepare for game number 2. Looks like our competitors have made their way to our featured pairs, including Doug Kent over on channel 15 through 18, our tournament leader, after 10 rounds of competition. Guys are getting their equipment ready. We'll be back for game 2 momentarily here on BowlTV.
Looks like on our featured pairs this game on 19 and 20, we're going to have Timothy Banks, Joseph Goldstein, David Sirigliano, and John Delaney. And then 21 and 22, James Stortz, who is plus 178, Greg Thomas, plus 160, Martin Bedford, plus 151, and Dwayne Steinmetz at minus 43. Over on 19 and 20, Timothy Banks, minus 50. Joseph Goldstein plus 229. David Sirigliano plus 85. And John Delaney minus 162. Greg Thomas with that swing that just is out there.
That's been something we've seen with Greg for his entire career, but has been an incredibly successful player utilizing that style. Definitely a player who likes when the lanes are tough, and definitely shows he's a I would simply just call him a shot maker, because Greg is just that guy. He's going to make the shots, especially when they're tough. He's going to be tough to beat. He's a grinder. Won a doubles eagle in 2016 at the USBC Open Championships as well. So looking to clean up 10 pin here. No problem.
Plus 160, so he's right on pace.
It was 113 to start the day, so that means liking the fresh so far.
247 game one.
Joe Goldstein had quite the day. Let's see, this is C squad, so they were on the double burn the first day. So
they were.
I want to say he went 770 out of the gates. .256, 280, 234.
Yahtzee.
Yahtzee indeed.
That's 770 on the nose.
Ended up 155 over for that block. It was plus 65 yesterday on the burn.
Okay.
So he got to 220 through 10 games.
Overachiever.
Dave Sirigliano, we talked a little bit about him yesterday. One of two players in Open Championships history with 3 perfect games on the tournament lanes. There's a nice shot from Joe. He made a run here at the Senior Masters. For some reason, I want to say it was 16. Let's see. I think he got to maybe I think he just missed the step ladder, or he was in like the 7-8 round.
Let's see how good your memory is.
He was 6th.
There you go.
So he got to the final round of the elimination bracket, but was unable to secure one of the 3 spots available. He had himself quite a run to get there, though, which included wins over Walter Ray Williams Jr. and Brian Voss in back-to-back matches in the elimination bracket to get there, but ran out of steam in the 4-way shootout round, as Paul McCordick, Andy Nyer, and Ron Moore ended up.
There's a couple names you recognize there.
Yeah, those guys, not bad at the bowling. Yeah, that was a crazy run with the way Walter was rolling, because he had actually lost his first match in the winners bracket.
Oh, look at those numbers.
Then rolled off 780, 707, 782, 742, and 752 before shooting 644 against Joe.
Hello.
Joe popped a 676 in that victory, and then delivered a 715 to 582 win over Brian Voss to earn his way into to an eventual 6th place finish.
I hate to put her on the spot like this. My mom's always been a Brian Voss fan.
Well, there we go.
Brian Voss and Pete Weber.
How about that?
Get it, get it.
Nice cover, Dave.
With with that conversion, David Sirigliano, now the only bowler in history with not only 3 300s at the Open Championships, but a 3.467 conversion at the 2019 USBC Senior Masters.
Also factual. And bonus points if you can name the other player who has 3 300s at the Open Championships.
Is that for me or for the chat?
For everyone, sure.
Well, thanks to working in an office with Matt, I've stumbled upon little nuggets of information like that, so I know. So I'm curious to see if the chat knows.
All right. Good folks in the BowlTV chat. As you mentioned, Dave Sirigliano, 3 300s at the Open Championships. Only one other player has done that. And if you go to bowl.com, you may be able to find that answer as well. Good question from the chat and from Jerry about the jerseys this week. Seeing as this event is run by the USBC, even though it's part of the PBA 50 schedule and counts as a PBA 50 major championship, since it is USBC run, the particular rules the PBA has for apparel do not come into play this week, so players can have multiple brands of shirts, not necessarily limited to 1 or 2 companies. So as you can see, not only the current jerseys, but we've had quite a few players kind of rocking the old school cotton polos. The name's actually stitched on the shirt.
You don't see that very often. And I mentioned that last week during the Super Senior. You could tell that it was a older tournament because some of the guys had the cotton polos with stitching, not just the screen printing on the back.
There's one individual who will still bring out some old school shirts from time to time, who certainly can back it up, and that's Double J, John Janowitz. For team trials every year, it seems like JJ always brings out like 1 or 2 like shirts, and you just kind of see it, and you're like, come on, JJ, where have you been hiding that thing at?
I've got 2 of those. I've got one of the old school. I think it came out with the burgundy hammer, but it's got like the 3 shades, like the gray, the burgundy, and like maroon. The 3 shades, and maybe there's a pink in the middle, and then the burgundy maroon on the top, but stripes on it, and it's got the hammer logo. And then I've got an old vice grip shirt. It's a black polo, and there's 40 different multicolored vice grips on the front, but it's kind of like it's not like stitching, it's like a screen print type of material, so it's kind of like plasticky or hard or sticky, or I don't know what to call it, but all these different pink and purple and yellow and orange and red and gold, and it pops, stands out.
It pops. Well, you are a gentleman who seems to enjoy to pop in your dressing wardrobe from time to time on the lanes. Hashtag cow pants.
Hashtag cow pants.
But yes, it's always nice. It takes me back, because that was when I was like, I don't know, when I probably got I only had a few of the shirts with the name on the back, but yes, it was not before the current era, and we were kind of in that where, actually had to have someone stitch the name on the back or send out for it. Had a few of those. I was proud of them. It was awkward to wear them in normal, everyday circumstances, though.
You never wear them in, weirdo.
Well, you go to lunch after a block or something like that.
I mean, that's different. I thought you meant like, hey, we're going out with the guys to go get dinner, or the wife and I are going out. Oh, I'm going to put on my name shirt and go to Olive Garden.
Of all places to choose, you elected to go with Olive Garden.
It's just the first one that popped into my mind.
Let's see. We have some scores on site here. Let's see if the online bracket is updated as well. Not quite yet. It looks like Mike Edwards has jumped into the overall lead. +3 is 73 for the 2012 Senior Masters champion. Looks like the cut now at +160, so it's jumped a few pins with just the one group on the lanes.
Looks like we do now have some scores. Ricky Schisler jumps into second at 224. Parker Bone, 233. Doug Kent struggled game 1, 186. Duke, 226. Stoney Baker, 233. Pete Thomas, 190. Russ Hunt, 230. Alan Frederick, 2-0. He was fun to watch bowl yesterday, because whether he was on front six or whether he was striking after not having struck for 4 frames, off his hand, he's slapping him out, and I mean, he's reacting to the shots, and he was a fun bowler to watch yesterday.
A quick story about Alan. He was here pretty early this morning as I was setting up the equipment for our broadcast today, and he stopped by and he just wanted to say a quick thank you. He's like, I've had so many people from the East Coast, he's living in Vegas now, you know, reach out to me and said, hey, we haven't seen you bowl in years, and you know, we've been watching this week, and thanked us for putting that out there for everyone to see. So no problem, Alan. Glad to help spread the good word of bowling. Greg Thomas looking locked in here.
And he is the cut right now at +160. A couple guys in this squad that are just outside the cut. Tim Benson shot 233 the first game to move to +151. Just a reminder, after one game of 15 today, the cut is at 160. So Tim Benson, 151. Daniel Miyamoto, 151. Martin Bedford, 151. And Bedford shot 176, so he lost 24 pins after game 1 to get to that 151. Just a few more guys that are a little more than outside the cut, this squad. I'm going to attempt this one, and he's just outside the cash line. George Zablewski is at +141. He shot 220 the first game. Bob Lauren Jr., who was on one of our 2 featured pairs, shot 222 the first game. That got him to 139. Of course, that split in the 10th cost him a possible 256. And then David Schumacher at 138.
David's on our featured pair right now.
Yes, he is. So there's, while the number of importance to us is that 64th place number, that match play cut, for some guys, depending on where they're at, what game it is, you know, how far they're out, the cash line, 76th place, is the number they're looking at. And only 17 pins separate the cut line from the cash line right now. So if you're looking at one, you're looking at the other. But as we get further into the day, those numbers could separate themselves, and you could have a group of guys that are going, okay, I'm, 2 games to go, I am 80 pins out of the cut, but I'm 30 out of the cash, which is a lot more doable.
Certainly more attainable. Taking a look across the house. So we have a few guys still stringing strikes. John Burkett with early 6-bagger. Norm Duke, front and 5 on the low end.
Oh, who was that? Go back one. Dean Fuelmeller. I see that Dean missed a single pin in the first frame, and it's next to the initials DF. So when I see 9 missed next to a DF, I don't like that. Makes me think it was me.
That's exactly what I thought. Because you're clearly of age to be bowling this tournament.
I did. It was funny. I brought some equipment in because once these guys get done on the double burn this afternoon, I'm going to go out myself and get some practice. It's just an opportunity to practice on something that's not the South Point house shot, which is incredibly soft if you've ever been to the South Point Bowling Center. And I walked in with 5 bowling balls, and I got some looks. I definitely got some looks from people. What, no, what kid? Hey,
you, kid.
to some of these guys, I am still a kid. I'm clinging on to it, okay?
Well, I certainly would not be surprised if you got asked to show ID if you went to go play a hand or two of blackjack. So embrace it.
Yeah, I've been ID'd all across the city.
There you go. Martin Bedford looking to get something going here in game number 2, a former Team USA member back in 2006. He's definitely seen some guys on this pair strike. We saw that last game as well. James Stortz going to be stepping up in a moment on 21, looking to make it 4 in a row. So since no one answered in the chat, who's the only other player to bowl 300 games at the Open Championships? Daniel Farish.
I can't pronounce the last name. It's S-Z. I've heard Matt say it before, but I can't pronounce it.
Craig Splets.
Splets, okay.
However, we do have some folks jumping in with some cut numbers here in the chat, so feel free to keep them coming. So you guys are much bolder in your predictions. I always wait till just the end of the tournament and just make a
blanket announcement. Just boom, this is what it is.
Yeah. I rely on you guys for that information because you guys are way smarter than I am when it comes to the bowling, so which I appreciate. See if Greg Thomas can get another one here, looking for a 6-bagger. Oh. Man, he threw a lot of stuff over at that 7-pin. Can't believe anything didn't connect with it to make it 6 in a row, but.
Well, his last shot over there off his hand, he asked for the ball to carry. I didn't hear anything on that, off his hand, that shot, but maybe there's something about his ball motion that he just doesn't quite 100% trust. And the smallest mistake he makes with his hand or direction could result in a non-carry. And Little throwing him around over on one of our secondary pairs over on 17 and 18. Caught a double after a 9 spare in the 5th on the back of 3 in a row.
Norm Duke missed in the 7th frame after the front 6. See if John Burkett was still striking. He has a few spares now. David Scardeville, we saw him put together a nice game here on BowlTV in day number 1. I think he was shot 258 on 19 and 20. Has a chance to shoot 290 this game with the 9th and 10th frames to go. There you go, Martin. Nice shot.
Needs that one.
Now, Daniel, for you, on a day like this, you know, whether the event was back home or whatever it may be, when there's a number involved, when there's a cut in this nature to get to another round, otherwise your tournament experience is going to come to an end. going into that final block, those final few games, did you ever put a number into your head where you wanted to go? Kind of how would you approach this final day? If it was good, if it was bad, if we were kind of in the middle and right by the cut line? Did your mindset change based on everything prior in the event?
No, I wouldn't put if let's say I was the cut coming into today, and I thought, okay, the cut's going to be X after we bowl 5 games today, I wouldn't put a number in my head to try and reach because I don't want to have a goal and feel like that with each game and with each shot, I'm closer or further away from that goal, because that just adds more emotion and it adds more complexity to what you're doing, as opposed to just assuming the Ty Dawson approach and just not looking at scores at all, and not even looking at my opponents, which that's not something I would do. I am a score watcher, but I wouldn't put a score in my head and say I've got to get to plus X, because the minute, whether this is conscious or subconscious, the minute you tell yourself, okay, I'm plus 150 after 10 games, I want to get to plus 225. What if you get to plus 225 after 3 games? Then subconsciously, whether you know it or not, some part of you is going to relax, and you're going to, okay, well, I got my goal. And rather than keep that scoring pace up, that's 225 a game for the first 3 games, rather than getting to plus 275 and going plus 50 the next 2 games, you might go plus 20 the next 2 games, and instead of being further inside the cut, you're getting done maybe watching scores around you. And if you're plus 225 after 3 and that ends up being the number, and game 4 you shoot 210 because you're more focused on the number and a goal rather than just going out and doing your thing, then all of a sudden, okay, I'm 10 pins above what I think the cut's going to be. Now game 5, you're not just focused on yourself, you're concerned with, well, this guy is 3 pins outside the cut, 4 pair down. Well, I'm going to go watch him a shot or 2 while I'm trying to focus on my own 10 frames. And you get all over the place instead of staying inside your own self. So no, I wouldn't say that I put a number up there to try and hit, because I just want to go out and make the best shots I can and get the highest number I can.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah, you've got to focus on yourself, because none of your competitors are going to focus on you.
That's rude of them.
Hey, I wouldn't expect it.
Dwayne Steinmetz
Boom.
sets up the 10th frame with a double. See if Greg Thomas can get back on the strike train after back-to-back spares. Left that 7-pin on a 21 last time. Asking for some hold, and finds a different type of 7-pin, but it's the
Still
same.
a 7-pin.
It's still the same pin, but go from the light mixer to high flush here in the 9th frame.
Of course, you mentioned coming to this game, Greg was the cut, so he's pacing okay, pacing in the 230s right now. He's got some room to play with that opening start of spared 5-bagger, but back-to-back half 7, high flush 7 on the same lane. Just hurts your feels, man.
No problem on the spare. Chance to get to 245 still with the double. Well, technically with all 3, but can get into the 240s with the double in the 10th.
When you went down there earlier to take a look at Mr. Washington, I was speculating to myself, we've had 3 300s in this event this year, correct?
Correct.
One day one, and then 2 yesterday.
Yep.
Okay. That's what I thought. I didn't think I had missed any others between here and the OC, but wanted to check with my guy.
Steve Boyer did so on A squad in the very first round of competition on Tuesday. And we have Jim Montgomery.
Uh-oh. There you go.
It sounded good.
Brooklyn. Hey, it looks good on the board. Good shot, Martin. No, bad shot, Martin.
Boyer got the first one, Jim Montgomery, and then Parker Bone the third right here on BowlTV. In the final game of the middle squad yesterday.
Oh, it's cool to see. I'm sorry, every 10 words I'm yawning. I haven't had my coffee today.
Jeez. You are, I'll have to talk about this newfound
Addiction.
yes. Nice game from Storts here, 235. Through 12 games now, he's going to be at plus 213.
Bedford going to lose a healthy amount of pins this game, minus 35. He's overall plus 116. But he's going to lose 35 right there. So you do the math. He was 151, which was just outside the cut as it moves along throughout the day. 3 opens, 1 split, a chop spare, and a washout. 7 pin, Greg Thomas. 10 pin.
It's one of those crazy things with the way kind of scoring works here in bowling. Is that if those 5 strikes were kind of spaced out, he'd probably be looking a little less than 230.
Be looking 2-0, yeah.
But having them all together here, even though Carey did not cooperate for Greg here these final few frames, still is trending in the right direction.
Yes, he is.
And putting himself in a good spot with 3 to go to continue on this pace. As we mentioned, in the 240s in game number 1, and with the spare here, going to be in the 230s here in game 2.
Looking around 17 and 18, Amuleto 236. Got a 254 right next to him, Kyle Howard.
You want to know why? Kyle Howard shot 254 that game?
No, you say why or how?
Why?
Why? Because he bowled a good game.
Oh, he did that as well, but it's also because the early bird gets the worm.
Was he here early?
He was the first one here that I saw this morning, so. Not saying any of that's related. Greg tries a different bowling ball on the fill. 234. He's going to get to plus 194. And move from the number to more than likely in the number. Dwayne also going to be in the 230s here. Just a matter of that final tally.
I'm calling 36. Oh.
He said that's what you can do with your 236 there, Daniel Farish. Add 1 pin to it. It's going to get him to minus 6 overall. So we're all wrapped up on 21 and 22. Sirigliano 200 even with the open in the 10th. He's at plus 85. John Delaney a little bit farther back at 156 to finish up. Timothy Banks 216 with all 3 in the 10th. He's at minus 34. And for Joe, good count gets him falling into the plus 220 range. Gets all 10, he's going to be at plus 222. For those of you who like continuity in your numbers.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Runaway bowling ball.
Oh no. Oh no.
Looks like a spare ball. It's way too shiny to be a strike ball. At least this morning.
Yeah, maybe by the burn squad we'll see, or the double burn, see some stuff with the little bit cleaner cover stocks.
I'll tell you, even, last week and a little bit that I've watched the double burn this week, I haven't seen a lot of polish out there. And you don't see a lot of it anymore.
Well, looks like we still have a shot to go over on 23 through 26 before everyone's ready for game 3. So that being said, we're going to take a quick break here on BowlTV. With game 3 coming up, C Squad round 3 at the 2019 USBC Senior Masters. All right, folks, we're ready for game number 3. This 5-game block here at the 2019 USBC Senior Masters. My name is Aaron Smith, being joined by Daniel Farish, part of our USBC Open Championships and Media Relations staff at the nearby South Point Bowling Plaza, right here.
Repping the OC.
OC. Let's go. OC. Daniel also a past member of Junior Team USA. He's much too old to be part of the team nowadays.
Well, and I was kind of thinking, going back, we were talking about Doug Kent, 15 years in between his kids Masters wins, USBC Masters wins. You know, it was 14 years ago that I made team. Why couldn't I go to Detroit this year and make team? Make it 14 years between appearances.
This is true. You would need some highly forged documents, I believe, to get away with that. But we can talk about that later.
Well, see, I see two big problems with it. One, I'm not young enough, I'm too old. And two, those kids are really good.
The kids are
really good.
Are pretty talented today. Not gonna lie, would not want to lace up and see my opponent being Anthony Nyer or Solomon Salama anytime soon.
No, I'm good.
Or Mabel Cummins, or the list just goes on and on. Kids today do throw it extremely well, but let's not have that take away from these great players age 50 and older, including the 2005 USBC Senior Masters champion Vince Mazzanti Jr., who's up on the far left of your screen, lane 19. Vince delivering the early double. He's at minus 33 at the moment. Michael Clausen at plus 178. Probably going to be hovering right around that number after we get our update. Also on our pair, Tim Helms, who is just plus 15 at the moment, right above plus, and then Joe Salvimini, who's got the double, starting the game at minus 17. Over on 21 and 22, we have Pat Nolan, Jeff Suma, Dan Sasaki, and George Sizabluski. Daniel, we had a question in the chat that I think was more directed at you because you're way smarter than I am. Jerry is asking, can you talk about surface changes during the blocks, what that does to equipment as the lanes transition? He also recommended that you drink your beloved coffee first.
Well, and real quick on the second note, I'm torn between going to get a coffee once this round is over or just going straight to get some lunch. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I've had my chocolate milk, that's the best it's going to get. As far as surface changes, the bowlers aren't allowed to make any surface changes during the block. But I think if you hit a ball with a fresh surface right after practice, right before competition starts, then the initial shock of that ball in the lane, I think you're going to see more. It's going to beat the lane up more in those first couple of shots. That one individual ball with that fresh shell on there, it's going to beat the lanes up more in those first 5 or 6 shots than it is over the course of the next couple of games. Because once it gets a little bit of oil in that cover, a little bit of sheen on there, then that's when it kind of tapers down how extreme the motion is and how extreme that surface change is, and that's when you really start to see what the true nature of the ball is going to be. It's kind of like back in the urethane days, and we see a lot of that now as urethanes has made a resurgence in the competitive bowling world. The first 4 or 5 shots you throw with a urethane ball, you can't judge a thing because that surface is so fresh and it reads the lane so early and hooks so soon that you need to get more than a few shots on a urethane ball, more like 6 or 7, before you start to see the true nature of what motion you're going to get. With resin balls, it's not that extreme. I think it's more like 3 or 4 shots.
Of course, you'll hear competitors talk about that as the ball does collect more oil, and you can even see it. It passes the eye test as the ball goes from that super dull, gritty surface to just having that, as you said, that sheen, that I wouldn't say a gloss over it, but you can see that it's definitely not the same texture, if you will. It looks like a different texture, and that certainly affects it. But
and going back to what I made a comment about not seeing a lot of polish out here. One of my best friends back home is a two-time Eagle winner and two or three-time PBA regional champion. A guy named Steve Novak was also, I think Steve was the national champion at Saginaw back in 03 or 04. I think Steve was.
I think he's part of that Bill O'Neill, Dan McClelland's era.
He was with DMAC.
With DMAC? Okay.
I think he caught a year or two with Bill. I think. But he and I were talking about surfaces. This was a couple months ago. And he said that he doesn't put polish on anything nowadays. He just keeps everything between 1,000 and 4,000, whether he's doing it by hand in the pit area or on a ball spinner in a pro shop. I think as strong as this is going to sound so backwards, but as strong as these bowling balls are nowadays, and how important it is for them to react to the lane and the pattern, you don't want to put something in between that cover and the lane. You don't want to put a polish on top of there. You want that ball to react to the dry or to react to the back ends in a certain way. And putting polish on there, all that does is tell the ball to try and ignore all of that. And with as big a difference, and this is more maybe for your typical house shots, as big a difference as there is between the wet and the dry, when you're trying to use those stronger bowling balls and you're moving into that puddle, you want the ball to start digging into the lane, and you want it to start getting into its roll, so when it does hit that fresh back end, it goes left. And it's what it's about there is about matching up your surfaces 1,000 through 4,000, as opposed to, oh, this ball's dull, oh, this ball's shiny. It's not that simple anymore. And as we say this, there's a 500 brand new 500 Abralon pad sitting on our viewing table in front of me.
I just wanted to see if you wanted to use it.
That'll do some damage right there.
We got house balls right behind us. We can scuff them up.
We could. Well, this might be somebody. I don't want to use somebody's Abralon pad on my house ball.
It's okay. It's Jim Callahan's. I know he can get more.
Yeah. Yeah, they've probably got a few in a couple backpacks around here.
But even in talking with Jim, giving him a hard time because he always likes throwing things on our table. But that's okay. But I use that to get information from him. But when he threw a few of those on there, I'm like, hey, so what are we working with this week? He's like, I just got 500 and 1,000. That's all I'm putting on anything. So obviously that varies from squad to squad, but that was I actually think that was right before the burn squad the first day. So did not see a need for anything cleaner. But who's real clean so far through 2 games? Parker Bone III, our new overall leader here at the USBC Senior Masters after 12 games, plus 389. He's at 497 through 2 games. I believe he is on the 23 through 26 channel at the moment. Joined with Doug Kent. Things aren't going as awesome, but still okay so far. They'll probably finish with like the last 6 to shoot 240 this game. But for Parker, plus 389. Mike Edwards, plus 372. Norman, plus 359, moving up. Ricky Schizler holding on to that 4th spot, plus 349. Doug Kent bounces back with 224 to get to plus 347. Next up on C Squad, Bo Gergen, plus 294. Amleto, plus 286. Stoney Baker, plus 281. Pete Thomas, plus 270. Alan Frederick, plus 260. Russ Hunt, plus 245. Paul Lamond. Holy cow, Paul Lamond, we got to keep an eye on him.
What happened?
Because he has 537 after 2 games.
Yahtzee. Holy moly.
Yeah, 279, 258 for Paul from Jasper, Indiana. Now sits at plus 237. Marv Sargent, plus 224. Joe Goldstein, we had him last game, plus 222. Stephen Jews from the UK, plus 216. Lance Emerson, we had him on in game 1, plus 215. James Stortz had 235 last game. He's at 494 for 2 so far today to get to plus 213. David Bowles and Barry Zimmerman at plus 211. Peter Knopp, plus 209. Hugh Miller, who was the cut to start the day, now at plus 207, as is Alvin Liu. Keith Colsey, plus 205. And Daniel Miyamoto, plus 198. James Wallace, plus 196. Greg Thomas moves up quite a few spots after that 234 game. He's now at plus 194 in 47th. Michael Clausen, plus 178. Had Pat Nolan stop by the booth real quick there to offer a hilarious anecdote, which I will share with everyone in a moment. Michael Clausen, who's looking to clean up this 2-pin over here, plus 178 in 54th place. Jim Montgomery, who had a 300 game yesterday, plus 174 in 58th. Benny Hafes, plus 169. And right now the cut, plus 164. So moved up 4 pins from last game. But Pat Nolan coming up. He's had a funny take on George's last name. He asked us, how many points in Scrabble would you get for George's last name?
Let's see if we can find out.
But the bowling world has seen another name with a similar start like that, John Zerbinski.
Yes, sir.
Also with the ZCZ combination at the start of it. Been a while since I've seen John. Hope he's doing all right. I don't think he's bowling as much nowadays, but he's always a great competitor, great shot maker. Part of that last three-peat from Wichita State, 2008 to 2010. Norm Duke putting together another solid game here on 43 and 44, 7 out of 8 strikes. With a split conversion in the third frame, he can shoot 278 this game. Doesn't look like we're finding any excitement in the front 5, 6, 7 variety, however. Glancing through live scoring, you can find live scoring and more at bowl.com. BowlTV.com/Senior Masters. You can also find it if you are in the chat. The panels at the top of the screen, you can select from tournament information the one you would want to choose for great information like the roster, lane pairings, the oil pattern schedule, live scoring, and of course the standings. Michael Canada has having himself a nice game 3. Started at +6. That can quickly get to +96 if he's able to fill out the 9th and 10th frame, shoot 290 over on 15 and 16.
By itself, that last name is 41 points, but if you place it strategically on a Scrabble board and catch a couple double letters and a couple double words and whatnot, you can get all the way up to 233 points.
Wow. I can't believe it, but I can totally believe it that there's a website that just is available for that.
Oh, there's more than a few Scrabble word calculators out there.
I'm still impressed that there's an age calculator. I use that often to determine ages and stories. And so I don't trust my math in those situations.
Well, it's good to have a backup, extra set of eyes. You talked about Norm Dookie at this game. There you go. Double, 8 split, spare, 5-bagger. Steps up in the 9th on 278 max score. Down on 43 and 44. He was plus 359 coming into this game.
Jerry with another question in the chat. I assume, Jerry, you're talking about the Senior U.S. Open coming up at Suncoast following this event. Do we expect the scores to be considerably lower? To be brutally honest, I am not 100% sure. Generally, the U.S. Open is a little bit tougher, but taking a look at the PBA website, it looks like it's just going to be one condition and just 2 rounds each day, so they won't be running into the double burn. So it looks like the PBA Marshall-Holman pattern will be used throughout the course of that, so let's see if we can look that up. There's also a question about Rick Steele-Smith, the newly appointed coach of Wichita State University, as Gordon Vatican, Hall of Famer, will be retiring. I'm not sure if he has or if it's going to be in the upcoming weeks. But Rick is of age. He's 55 nowadays. Won the 1987 Masters in Niagara Falls, New York. There's a nice shot from George, bouncing back after the open in frame number 8, 4 out of the last 5. See you scouring the interwebs here, Daniel.
I'm trying to find out what tournaments the Marshall Holman, the 41-foot Marshall Holman pattern has been used at. Their website used to show the previous tournaments that pattern XYZ has been used at and who won that tournament. But the senior PBA US Open, or senior US Open link didn't. Oil pattern link did not show past history, so I'm trying to see if, just trying to look up any kind of a scoring pace that we've seen on that pattern. But it's not coming as easily as I'd hoped it would.
Pat Nolan staying clean here. Chance to shoot 234 this game. I'll put him right around plus 50. Dan gets to the hard way there. But back-to-back splits have slowed him down. He can still get to 215 this game. That'll put him at plus 49. George looking for a strong finish. 203 would put him at plus 103 with 2 games to go and have his work cut out for him. Nice shot there from Tim to kick off frame number 10. He can get to 212. He's hanging around plus at the moment. Pat gets him to mix and tumble. Joe, 10th frame. Good shot, but carry does not cooperate.
Well, that Marshall Holman pattern was just introduced this past January, and I'm not seeing anywhere, at least on the PBA's main schedule this calendar year, where it's been used. I mean, it may have been used, but as I pull up each tournament that's been held in 2019, I'm not seeing that pattern listed. So we may not have a history for scoring pace on that Marshall Holman pattern.
Quick update on Norm Duke. Split in the 10th frame to finish at 243, but he is now through 13 games plus 402. So Parker ended up putting a 4-bagger in the middle of that game. Looks like he got to 221. So Mike Edwards was not striking too much this game, so it looks like Parker's going to potentially hold on to the top spot here heading into the final 2 games.
David Schumacher down on lanes 5 and 6, done messed up in the 10th. He had 9 spares in a row headed into his 10th frame before he finally struck in the 10th. Or sorry, no, it was David Graber, sorry. Yeah, David Graber, 9 spares in a row before a strike in the 10th, and then a split 8 count, and missed them both in the field ball for 182.
Whew.
Minus 189 for the his first 13 games of competition, but he could have said he had an all-spare game, but he can't now.
That darn strike getting in there. Nolan finishes with 224. He's now at plus 43. George 183. He's at plus 83 now. See if Dan can get it going once again, and nearly leaves his 3rd consecutive split, but just has 3 pin left to shoot at.
Uh-oh.
Tim Helms 211. He's at plus 26. Joe with 211 as well. He's now at minus 6. Vince, our 2005 champion, able to topple the 7 pin there. Finishes at 223. He's going to be at minus 10. Clausen has been a pretty steady competitor so far, and he's going to be in the 230s this game. He's going to be north of 200 over.
Hook a little bit. Well, he was right to turn around after he let go of it. He didn't like the release, didn't like it off his hand. Plus 212 though. Sitting pretty with 2 games to go.
Nice 255 there from Jeff Suma to get to plus 9. And final shot here from Dan to get to 205. Strike puts him at plus 39 with 2 to go.
Jerry Johnson in the chat says he bowls league with Dave Graber on Tuesday nights. He lost the match 299 to 300. Go remind him.
That's cold, Jerry. That's cold, man.
We the first tournament back in college of each spring semester was in January in Cincinnati. It was the Bearcat Open. It was hosted by the University of Cincinnati. And it was always known to be on a softer pattern. It wasn't a house shot, but it was a modified house shot. And it was matched, it was head-to-head, 5-man teams, but it was the Swiss format, where you bowl the guy across from you for individual points, and then you have your team point as well. And one of the guys that was on our C team, my sophomore, junior year, Brandon, I forget his last name, he shot 299 and lost. And the next year, they presented him with a bad beat plaque.
Wow. Cold-blooded. Sometimes something like that you just gotta laugh at and shake it off. I mean, that's not much else you can do in that situation.
Yeah, I don't remember if his field ball was he's a lefty. I don't remember if it was a ring 7 or a through the face 2-pin. I don't remember what the leave was.
I'm more concerned about you not remembering teammates' last names.
Well, he was C team.
Wow. Daniel's rolling hard like that today, folks.
Well, and you got to remember, this was back before they put limits on how many players you could have in a program. So, Tier 1 tournaments, which were the bigger college tournaments, we would take an A team and a B team too. But for the Tier 2 tournaments, kind of the smaller ones, the Tier 2 in Wichita, we took 7 men's teams and 5 women's teams one year. That was my freshman year. We had, I think if you go to collegebowling.com, we list like 40 players with average numbers for my freshman year. But we would take, Lindenwood was and still is very well funded by the school, and we would take like big tour buses to each tournament. That tournament in Wichita, we took 2 like 50-passenger tour buses. Absolutely ridiculous.
Do you ever go through collegebowling.com and secretly hope to see your picture up there in
They didn't.
top.
They never had pictures like if you go to collegebowling.com, what we're talking about, the top right-hand corner of the website will randomly generate player pictures in their profiles from over the years. And when we were there, they didn't take pictures. 0506, if that's what you're looking for.
0506, yes. Let's see. Only 26.
Oh, wow.
What's his name, Brandon?
It wasn't Brandon White. Go to the next year.
Go to the Emil Williams Jr. Wow, what was he doing that year? Come on, E.
They had just won a national championship the year before. They were slacking.
There, E bounced back. Oh, he got you.
Brandon Cornell. That's his last name. I feel bad now.
Got to send him a note.
Okay.
Let's see, Daniel Ferris. You didn't get a photo?
No, I told you they didn't do photos. Oh, you pulled up my sophomore year was my worst year in college. Come on, man.
Well, see, I'm gonna do you a solid right here, Daniel.
Oh, gee, thanks.
Let's see. I think it was 0405.
We're just killing time as players are moving equipment from pair to pair. If you can hear the background noise, there's not much going on.
See, this is what happened when you got the photo, though.
Dude, is that you?
Yeah.
Holy moly. Oh, my gosh.
Yep.
Look at that. You've come a long way, young man.
I have. I filled out a little bit since then.
You grew into your face.
I have, yes.
Oh, that sounds bad.
Can't argue facts. All right, looks like Game 4 just about ready to get underway on all three of our channels. All right, folks, game number 4 getting underway here. Jim Eckerson, Scott Greiner, Rick Francis. And Daryl Bauer, who made the stepladder finals.
There you go. My junior year, 38 bowlers.
38 bowlers. How about that?
That's the year. It wasn't freshman year, it was junior year. Yeah.
Well, there we go.
It's driving me nuts.
Bauer, a 4th place finish at the Super Senior Classic. Having some struggles this year after a 6th place finish at the Senior Masters in 2018. Those are our competitors on 19 and 20. Rick Francis at 120 over. Scott Greiner plus 63. Our other competitors are minus at the moment. Over on 21 and 22, that is Vic Karbowski picking up the spare. Scott Paniello looking to do the same. Joined by Fran Luzzi and Skip Pavone. Skip plus starting this game, but just a few pins. Fran at plus 11. Our other competitors in the minus right now. Pavone had a 3rd place finish at the Brentwood stop on the PBA 50 Tour leading up to the Super Senior Classic and Senior Masters. That event won by Mike Diaz. See if Skip can get lined up here after a split in frame number 1. For those of you just joining us, we may be in game 4 of 5 of this block, but we have 2 additional blocks left to go. A squad will be on the lanes 3 p.m. Eastern, noon local time here in Las Vegas on the burn variation of this week's oil pattern, 40 feet in length. Run just once before the start of competition. And then the bowlers on B squad will bowl the final block of the day, and that'll be 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 local time here in Las Vegas. And if we happen to have any need for bonus bowling, we will be ready to go on BowlTV as well.
I want some bonus bowling.
Daniel wants bonus bowling, but that'll take you from getting away to the lanes quicker.
That's okay.
That's okay?
I don't
All
work
right.
till 4 tomorrow over at the OC, so I got plenty of time.
Oh, man.
Oh, crumbles it. Yes, sir. Scott's just sitting a little bit outside the cut. I came into this game minus about 150, but moments like that will at least bring a smile to your face. Crumbles it.
We had a question in the chat as Brant is helping some folks out about the TV pair these last 2 games from Jerry. We check the lane pairings here. Let's see, today is cab day, so I gotta find the C squad. Let's see if we can find, let's see, on 21 and 22, we'll have Stoney Baker and Marv Sargent. They're both, at least we're both in the number heading in. Oh, no, that was the end of day 1. I should look at round 3, shouldn't I? Let's go to round 3. Highlight, Stoney and Marv won't be here. Sorry, everybody. This is why we can't have nice things. All right, let's see. On 19 and 20 for the final game, it looks like we will have Dan Peters, David Bowles, and Daryl Washington. On 21 and 22, we will have Norm Duke, Alvin Liu, Michael Duran, and Dennis Horan Jr. See on some surrounding pairs. On 15 and 16 for our other channels, we'll have Bo Gergen, Keith Colsey, and John Burkett. On 17 and 18, we'll have Mike Furzak, Alan Frederick, John Millard, and Les Sherwint. And then on the other side, 23 and 24, Michael Hagen Jr. and Warren Eels, along with Tim Benson and Peter Knopp. And on 25 and 26, Michael Owen and Daniel Miyamoto, and Stephen Jeeves and Jim Montgomery. So those players will all be coming to BowlTV in the next game on one of 3 channels to choose from. Daniel and I are only featured on the featured lanes 19 through 22, but if you've gotten too much of us already and just want to watch bowling, just the chatter of pinfall on 15 through 18 and 23 through 26.
We try and stay on topic with most of our conversation here, but every now and then we get a little off base.
Well, I feel over the course of 15 games over a single day that if you don't get a little off base, then you might be having a rough day by the time you get to game 15. So need a little fun along the way.
I'll tell you, a couple guys that are having fun right now. 2 legends, Amleto Monticelli, Norm Duke, down on 35 and 36, dueling front fives between the 2 multi-governing body Hall of Famers.
Very nice. I like that.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of Norm, he's at plus 402. Has moved into second place overall in our standings. Parker Bone III still leading at plus 410. Scores updated online now. So for our C Squad competitors in the cut at the moment, Parker 410, Norm Duke plus 402, Mike Edwards plus 375, Ricky Schizler plus 349 has been pretty consistent. Pete Thomas and Doug Kent both at plus 338. Bo Gergen plus 297. Amleto plus 280. Alan Frederick plus 270. Alvin Liu plus 260. Stoney Baker 252 over. Hugh Miller has moved up nicely today, plus 238. Barry Zimmerman plus 230. Peter Knopp plus 227. Joseph Goldstein plus 225. Keith Colsey plus 219. Marv Sargent plus 215. James Storts plus 213. Michael Clausen, we had him last game, he's at plus 212. Paul Lamond, after that strong start, fell off a little bit, 174, but he's still at plus 211. Stephen Jeeves plus 208. Daniel Miyamoto plus 199. Lance Emerson and Jim Montgomery plus 198. David Bowles plus 194. James Wallace plus 192. Steve Hoskins 719 this block to work his way into the number at the moment, plus 186. Noel Vasquez plus 184. Russ Hunt. Oh, Russ, my goodness, he's given a lot of pins back the last 2 games. 158, 136.
Oh no.
Now sits at plus 181.
Oh.
Greg Thomas, after we saw him last game, go 234. Some struggles here in game 3, 177. He drops to plus 171, but is still within the number. Jeffrey Atkins at plus 170, and the cut at the moment.
Didn't move, I don't think.
It did not move. It's 3 players, though, at the number who are bowling on other squads today. Paul Fleming, John Dudak, and Donald Harrington at plus 164. a 216.4 average.
A couple guys in this squad that are just outside the cut. Bob Learn Jr., 643 for the first 3 games today. He's sitting at plus 160. Henry Dawson, 685 today at 154 over. Michael Duran just inside the cut line at 76th. He shot minus 21 for today. Overall, he's plus 145. And it goes to show you just how differently these lanes can play from bowling on them after 5 games. We know when these guys bowled yesterday afternoon, we were talking a lot about Russ Hunt. He bowled really well, shot 12-13 yesterday. And it's amazing how quickly things can turn when you hit the fresh. You know, he shot 230 the first game, got him where he liked him throughout practice, knew what the lanes were doing, and he's hit a couple pair that he didn't quite know what they're doing, and the numbers have shown. Scott asking for the ball to tip, and I still don't think it did, but he catches the 3-pin off the wall.
Very uncharacteristic maneuver by Norm Duke after the 6-bagger.
Oh my.
A 9 count in the 7th and unable to pick up the spare. Amleto still striking though, 7 in a row. On 35 and 36. Noel Vasquez, front 8, over on 43 and 44 now.
Amleto was 35, I think.
35, yep.
All right.
We may have to split the difference here. We will see. But Noel Vasquez, the first up. Race for the first 300 of the day.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we don't get paid to bring you good news. We get paid to bring you news. And I'm going to add on a little bit of boo with this news, as not one, but both of our guys that were making runs that game lost them. Noel Vasquez went through the face on front 9, left the 6-7, in which the 7 fell late, so just the 6 pin. And then you were watching Amleto. What happened down there?
Amleto went super high on the pocket and ended up being it was a high flush 7, but it wasn't like one of the dirty high flush 7s that you can get used to seeing.
Yeah.
So it was definitely high on the pocket. Could have carried, could have been maybe a little bit worse, but it would have been cool if it would have carried.
Oh yeah.
I've never got a video of Amleto shooting 300 before, so that would be pretty nifty.
Tell you somebody right now who's less concerned with carrying and more concerned with just hitting the pocket is tournament leader coming into today, Doug Kent. He started this game off strike spare 3-bagger, but has since went 6-count split, 7-count split. And crossing with him on his lane, Parker Bone not faring much better this game. I just lost my last live. I just lost live scoring. He was alternating spares and strikes until the 6th frame when he split and then struck the 7th. So they're both digging, fighting to try and find something here in game 4. Rolando over on lane 17 fires off 267. That puts him at plus 206. A much needed game to get him up into the 200 range. Again, we're kind of thinking that maybe possibly that cut's going to be, the number a lot of people have been throwing around is a 215 average, which would be plus 225. We would expect to see scores go up over the next 2 blocks. And right now the cut is at 164. It's been there for 2 games. We started the day, the number was around 153, which is right at that 215 average, and went from 153 to 160, and then after the last 2 games, it's been at 164. And Jimmy Pritz finishes that game with a 257, or 259, excuse me, puts him at plus 55. So he's more than likely outside of that, going to be outside that cut line. A 300 would put him at in the plus 150 range, but I don't think that's going to be enough. The cash line after the last game was plus 145.
Trouble for Skip here in the 8th frame. The not so friendly 4 through the face. 279 for Amleto. Let's see, so this is for 14 games, so that puts him at 359 over. Duke's going to move up into the he's done now, 438 in the plus department.
We were talking about Greg Thomas earlier. He was the cut when he came into our featured pair. Shot 230 with a couple of bad break 7 pins on the lane 21. That put him up into the plus 190 range. Well, he has since faltered just a little bit. Shot 177 last game, and this game he has 3 opens in 8 frames. No, excuse me, 3 opens in 9 frames. And he is at, as he sits in the 9th frame, he's plus 117, so he can get to 147 after this game if he shoots a 176, so he's going to lose about 50 pins over the last 2 games after his pretty decent start on 21-22, game 2.
Settling into frame number 10 here on our featured pair. Nothing too crazy score-wise, taking a look across the board. For our competitors this game.
I didn't know our email system does that stupid change your password every 60 days thing. Dumb.
Well, there you go. Scott gets the hit to kick off his 10th frame. He get to 214. For Vic. Spare and a strike would give him to 189. That would put him at minus 59. Jim with the spare, he can get to 162 this game. He's going to be more than minus 100. Gerald Bauer, back-to-back opens to finish up with 176. He is minus 66 overall. Scott Greiner can get to 212 this game. Still might be out of range here, even with the big finale. He would get to plus 75 if he strikes out here. So 175 would be his max total. We're currently, based off the number we have, be in that, but we definitely have a feeling that number is going to continue to.
You seeing this?
to go up. I told you about it.
We've talked about this. You asked me, do you do this? Do other bowlers do this? How do you approach it? What we're talking about is, you mentioned Norm Duke's going to be on 21 and 22 next game. He has finished up his game 4, and he is down here sitting right behind lanes 21, watching his competitors bowl. Go, oh.
Well, unfortunately, Skip will not be able to help him out very much here from the left side.
No.
But he'll get to see Fran.
Well, Norm was second coming into this game, and I know that Parker was struggling midway through, so if Norm is indeed our tournament leader after this block, when we talk to him, we'll have to ask him, what were you hoping to learn when you came down? We were talking about this on the broadcast, so it just so happened we saw you come down and do this. Were you able to learn anything? Is this something you do regularly? And just see if we can get an opinion on it from an expert rather than the two of us back here pontificating about it.
Pontificating, 10:15 a.m. You didn't have your coffee today. That's why it took a little longer to get into the.
And it's been happening in the 9 o'clock hour. I know.
Multi-syllable words. So. Daniel, have you ever had the opportunity to interview Norm Duke?
No, I haven't.
Well, young man, you could have the opportunity of a lifetime coming up shortly here.
Oh, boy.
Definitely one of the true experiences in this role is having the ability to chat with Norm Duke. I've been lucky enough to interview him a few times over the course of my career, and you always get some great sound bites with Mr. Duke. So
it'll be one of the few times that I will interview someone who I'm looking down on, but have always looked up to. That was a short joke in case anyone missed that.
I was making sure there.
I don't want anyone to think that I think anything less than awesome things about Norm Duke. One thing I do remember about him was when the PBA Tour came to Executive Bowl. Now I'm talking, this was right around 20 years ago. I think it was at the Pro-Am. He gave one of his bowling balls to the daughter of a woman who worked in our pro shop. And he signed the bowling ball, and we put the ball up in the shop. And his bowling ball, he didn't have any grips in it. He didn't use grips back at this era of his career. And his finger holes felt like they had just come off the press. It felt like they had just come off the press, and someone just took a sander and went and just popped the hole real quick. I mean, they were as sharp as you could imagine, and I don't know how he threw that ball. Thumb hole was the same way. Thumb hole was almost as sharp as the fingers, but still there was no bevel on that thumb hole at all. I don't understand how he did it.
Well, that will teach you not to squeeze the ball very quickly.
You're not kidding. I know that back in the day, Chris Barnes would do that by keeping his thumb hole very tight. That way he couldn't squeeze it at all, because if he did, he'd go with the ball. So I guess there's different ways. There's many different ways to skin the cat? More than one way to skin the cat?
Although we don't condone such cruelty to animals here.
I don't, no. I'm not
Yes.
a cat guy, but I would never skin a cat.
All right, Game 5 going to be coming up momentarily here on BowlTV. This is, once again, C Squad, their final game of qualifying. So they will have the rest of the day to sit and wait to see if their score will be enough to make the top of 64. So we'll prepare our lanes to make sure they look good to go for Game 5. And our presumed leader overall, Norm Duke, coming up next here on BowlTV. as we continue to move one step closer to crowning a major champion here at the USBC Senior Masters. A friendly reminder that the 2019 U.S. Women's Open will be taking place right here in Las Vegas from June 16th through the 23rd. And you can watch the competition live on BowlTV. Make sure to tune in to watch the best female bowlers in the world compete for the coveted green jacket and second major of the 2019 PWBA Tour season. That'll be taking place at the nearby Texas Station Hotel and Casino. I'm not sure if it also qualifies as a gambling hall. However, for our purposes today, it will be. And without any further ado, Norman. Did have to sit there for a while.
Yep.
It almost looked like that ball had a blue oil ring on it.
I didn't look closely at it.
That was a different strike ball for his spare shot. As we mentioned when we had him here, was that yesterday? Yeah, that was yesterday. You were here.
I was, yes.
When
Yeah,
we
he
had
was
him
on
on
19 and 20.
19 and 20, yep.
Yes.
And folks, just a reminder, we will have our giveaway later this game. So Brant in the chat, when he starts making some noise, be on the lookout for our first giveaway of the day. David Bolas up on 20. Dan Peters looking for an early double on 19. Daryl Washington, our third competitor on 19 and 20. Alvin Liu.
Plus 265 coming into this game. So solidly inside that cut line.
Also joined by Dennis Horan Jr. and Michael Duran.
I guess if they were a double team, they could be Duran Horan.
Wow. That just happened, folks. This is, wow. I'm just going to walk away after that.
I need some kind of stimulant, whether it's lunch or coffee.
This is your opportunity to let the folks know your favorite Duran hits.
I've got to go with Ordinary World.
I'm kind of partial to Rio. I think Rio is a nice, fun little song. Hungry Like the Wolf is a staple as well.
I'm going to answer two questions here. One, I think it was Jerry in the chat asked if that was an idle that Norm was throwing, and it is an idle. And to answer your question, yes, that ball has a blue oil ring on it. That ball has been on TV.
Whoa.
Kind of makes me nervous to be in the presence of that bowling ball.
Look at me, Ma, I've been on TV. That's what that bowling ball just said. Now it's been on BowlTV too.
Has been on BowlTV. Which really, if you think about it, has a wider reach than any television station because, well, BowlTV's on the internet.
The interwebs.
You can get the internet in Antarctica.
Random, but probably factual.
You can't get that television station in Antarctica. And if you do, you know how you're getting it? The internet.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
So if there's anyone out there near Samstown right now, Daniel really needs that cup of coffee. There's a blueberry mocha latte or something of that nature.
Blueberry crisp latte.
Crisp, okay.
With whipped cream.
With whipped cream, all right. So we're behind lanes 19 through 22. There's a Dunkin' Donuts here. That's, I believe that his preferred coffee now that he started drinking coffee like 4 days ago.
Oh, Lord.
I'm glad you walked up with me that day to go get coffee now.
Me too.
This has been a joyous experience. So Norm came in a little bit light on 21. Looked like more just missing the shot.
Yeah,
And getting it a little right off his hand.
And whether this was an instinctual reaction or not, he came back kind of stretching and just moving his shoulders. Like you mentioned, he had to sit for maybe about 10 minutes. So. That ball kind of scooted down the lane as well.
Definitely looked better than the first shot there, but yeah, just never picked up the right way. And we do have scores on site here. Norm Duke is our leader, plus 438. Parker Bone III, plus 412. Ricky Schisler, plus 384. And Leto Monticelli and Doug Kennett, 359. Mike Edwards, 356. Pete Thomas, 353, all on this squad. Then we get into some other squad competitors. Cut has stayed at plus 164.
Wow. We've seen scores, be lower on this morning block, but this, I guess it would be a little more odd if the cut was going down. I guess leveling off makes some sense. I thought we might see some gradual movement up, but we're not even seeing that.
And if for that number, we do have 3 players who are or haven't competed yet at 164, so that obviously helps it or makes it a little more able to kind of stay there, even though it's still kind of moving. But like for last game, there was only one player technically, or it was all the way down to 64th. And it was a tie for 64th. Now it's a tie for 62nd. That just goes down to 64th. So it widens the range, if you will. But taking a look across C squad, as we mentioned, Norm, Parker, Ricky, and Leto, Doug, and Mike, and Pete leading the way. Bo Gergen at plus 297. Hugh Miller was the cut to start today. He's had himself solid performance, plus 288. Alvin Liu on our feature pair, plus 285. Daniel Miyamoto, nice day, just shot 274 to get to plus 273. Noel Vasquez had the front 9 last game, finished with 279 to get to 263. Pierre Knapp at plus 258. Alan Frederick plus 245. Joe Goldstein plus 241. Stoney Baker 235. Barry Zimmerman plus 229. Paul Lamont plus 227. Stephen Jeeves plus 224. Keith Colsey plus 210. Rolando Sebelin from the Dominican Republic, 267 last game. He's now at plus 206. James Storts plus 202. Lance Emerson plus 202. Michael Clausen.
Hook. Didn't hook.
Plus 194. Marv Sargent, 191. David Sarigliano has shot 247 and 249 his last 2 games to get to 181 over Steve Hoskins, plus 180 in 53rd. James Wallace plus 169. Jim Montgomery plus 168. Those are all the players in the number at plus 164 at the moment. Bob Learn, the first player out on C squad, plus 153. Jeffrey Atkins plus 151. Russ Hunt.
Oh,
Russ, 167. That's rough to see. Now plus 148. Can he find something here in this last game? David Bowles on our featured pair at plus 143. Tim Benson, 141 over with a 129 this block. He's plus 23 with a 129 this block. That is rough. But we'll see if he's bowling well, other than that one tiny part of the block. So trying to pop a big final game. Brian Kretzer, 137 over. Henry Dawson, 131.
Russ Hunt this game spare, 5 count, and then 1 on the attempt, and a strike in the 3rd frame. So not starting off the way that he needed. I'm afraid he may have bowled himself out of it.
Mike Edwards with the spare, then an early 3-bagger. It's been in the top 5 after we told
Norm.
the story of Mike Edwards taking Daniel Farish out of a super regional 10 years ago.
10 years ago. Along with watching the guys that are near that cut line, whether that's the current one we're talking about or an estimated cut line that we're looking at, we're also going to be watching the top 2 spots. I think that's the lead after this block is going to be up to, it's come down to 2 guys. That's going to be Norm and Parker Bone, because it is 26 pins between the 2, and then from Parker back to Schisler, it is another 28. Of course, Norm, you see him right here on the featured pair. Hasn't caught a double yet, striking the 5th on the back end of a split. Parker Bone has started this game double spare strike. Schisler double single pin miss strike, and Amoletto front 4 with an open in the 5th. Alvin Lou struggling on this pair with splits on both lanes through 5 frames. He as well has not caught a double. Dan Peters, Greek Church. He came into this game minus about 90. And his farewell game for the 2019 Senior Masters not going much better than the 14 before it, with, I'm going to assume 3 opens, 2 splits, 1 chop spare.
You're bowling much better this game, Daniel.
Well, it's easy to bowl better when you don't miss single pins and all you do is strike. Dean with the front six. Dean Fuelmiller. That's the shot that I'm giving it.
Dave Waswell knew Dean from his neck of the woods, but I remember he said the last name, and I'm not recalling it right now because it was many, many qualifying games ago.
Many moons ago.
But if Dean happens to continue to strike to finish up his qualifying session, be sure to visit the Sport of Bowling USBC on Facebook, at USBC on Twitter, at US Bowling Congress on Instagram for some cool looks of this event on social media. All right, folks, as we get to the back half of the game here, Brandt is a very eager young man and wants to give away things. So let's go, Brandt. Giveaway time, folks. It's going to work very simply. You're going to see a prompt on your screen. It's going to let you know a giveaway is coming up shortly. And then there will be another prompt that says simply submit entry. It's going to be a light blue button. You'll just click on that, and that's all you have to do to be entered to win Brandt's mystery prize, which sounds scarier now that I've said it that way. Jerry Johnson asking, scores reset tomorrow? And that is correct, Jerry. In match play, everyone's back to even. So 3-game total pinfall matches to determine who moves on and who heads to the elimination bracket for the rest of the way out. So once again, giveaway time. All you have to do, click submit entry, and you will be in position to take home a prize just for being a BowlTV subscriber.
That's left for Washington. Watching some of the competitors on the pairs in front of us, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
And this goes back to what I witnessed last week, the Super Senior, and even what I witnessed on a week-to-week basis back home, bowling tournaments and league. An etiquette question: are you a high five giver?
I am, but it depends on the situation. It's
okay.
It's a high five for like something good. If you open, it's more of the fist bump. That's where I'm at right now. Brian Kretzer, chance to get into the 260s this game. Was at 137 over to start, so one of those where you never know. But he's on 53 and 54 with the 9th and 10th frame to go.
I don't know how close of attention you people at home are paying to what Norm Duke just did, but he just opened the lane up. He was crossing right around 6, 7, 8 at the arrows, around 6, 7. And on that last shot on 21, he was right around 13. He just made a big move in, and he was playing it pretty straight. And he bent this ball more than he's hooked it on this pair in the last 6 frames.
That was a no doubter too.
Oh yeah.
Dean up to 7 in a row now at 9 and 10. We'll be looking for number. Actually, I think we might have spoke too soon. I'm seeing some scores populate down there. Barry Zimmerman with the front 6 though on 11 and 12. Mike Edwards can max out at 235. So he's going to be not able to get to plus 400 today. Let's see what Ricky Schisler is doing on 33 and 34s.
Next, we have an equipment malfunction delay here on 21 and 22. As Michael Duran's thumb slug insert has come out of the ball, and I believe they said it's laying in the gutter down lane.
Oh, that's not fun. Tom Pippinger, our general manager here, is going to be the gentleman taking care of this appearance. He's going to give the proper lane courtesy. Norm helping out here, being the gentleman that he is. Or he's telling them, that's where I threw that last shot. I had to make a move. Oh, look at it. Traffic cop Norm taking place here.
Somebody knows he's on TV.
Oh, they got all the way down there. That was on the actual lane. So Thomas was the winner of the giveaway. Congratulations, Thomas. Michael brought said broken thumb sleeve over to the table for a second here.
See if you can see what. Yep. Roll the three. Give him his hits.
Big shout out to Tom Pippinger and the whole staff here at Sam's Town for their continued support of this great event and many events throughout the course of the years. So thank you to Tom and his staff. But the strike's starting to add up here for Norm. I'm not sure if let's see, where's Parker at? 47, 48. He's clean. He can max out at 256 with the last four. Norm still has 246 out there with the last five strikes.
That's a good break after all the drama of the thumb slug issue. And Michael is plus 12 after 4 frames this game, and then 4 strikes on the back of it as we're looking at the running totals. So he's trying to overcome this thumb slug issue and get some pins out there so he can make the cut.
That'd be, if he's able to strike out, add 180 onto that 12 as Norm flushes 10 back. But 180 pins still left out on top of that 3,012 total you see up there for Michael. So that'd be 192 over, which for what we've been predicting might not be enough, but that might be enough to grab a check, however.
Yes.
So another number these guys are thinking about coming down the stretch here is that final check position, which is 76th overall, which that number currently at plus 44, or plus 144. Bob Learn having some struggles this game. He was just outside the number to start. He can max out at 201, so doesn't look good for Mr. 300 here. Making the top 64. Steve Hoskins, best he can get to is 202 this game, which would put him at plus 182. So potentially not going to be enough when the dust settles later today.
I can see Parker way down on 47 and 48. He did not like the last shot he threw. He needed to punch out for 250. He was up in the ninth. So I don't think he struck in the ninth. And with Norm's shot right here, that'll pretty much lock up the lead for Norm after the morning block here at the Senior Masters.
Michael Clausen is putting together a game. He entered, where's he at this final game? I knew he was kind of one of those guys who had one of those scores where you're not so sure about, plus 194 entering this game, but he is tossing some X's on the scoreboard here. Back half of the final game over on 49 and 50. Can still shoot 254 this game.
Not only did Parker not strike, he split.
Well, there we go. On the bright side, Norm Duke very close, so we should be able to alert him. Potentially just by flailing our arms in his direction.
Hi, Norm! Leader!
Yes, just like that.
Just like that?
That's highly comical for me. I wish everyone was able to enjoy that.
It's the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man from Family Guy.
There we go.
Hook a little bit, more than that. It didn't. Well, Alvin Liu has put himself in a very bad position. He is plus 198 as he sits through the ninth frame. He can strike out to get to plus 228, but he has had 3 splits, one of which he converted, and that chopped 3-6-9-10 that just happened. He can max this game at 163.
Which would be 228 over, which that's right around that 215 mark we continue to harp on.
That's kind of what we said. Man, I forget who it was. Senior Masters bowled a terrible last game on 21 and 22, and we seemed kind of positive that game was going to cost him. I can go back, and he ended up being in the cut by.
I think you were talking about Brian Miller.
Brian Miller, yes, yes.
The Super Senior Classic. Safe at home. All right, Norm, where are you going to get to here, Norm? Let's, what do we say, 46, he was at 38, so 78, 84, 2 more.
Good shot, great shot.
Well, for Norm, a past USBC Masters champion, Still looking for his first Senior Masters title. Of course, the runner-up finish last year. And he's going to have plenty of steam heading into match play starting tomorrow. Noon Eastern will be the time for that. But we are going to go ahead and talk to Norm after he finishes up here. Daniel, I'll allow you to experience this great moment.
I'm nervous.
And I'm delegating this at the same time, so this works out well.
I'm nervous. I don't know what am I supposed to ask him. Norm, how did you do the bowling?
There you go. And as Tony and Jerry alluded to in the chat, just a masterful finish here.
Yes, it was.
For Norm Duke. Finishing out the game with 246 after the split in the fourth frame, making the move to get to plus 484.
And I wasn't going
to his 15-game total.
When I was going to talk to him, I wasn't going to worry too much about that last game. I was more going to focus on the whole set, the whole 15 games. But I'm going to start off asking about that because that move just netted him the back 8. And that's, you don't see players at a local level make that move. They don't. They don't know to, or they don't have the confidence to. It's a gutsy move right there.
Well, Norm's, he's done this once or twice before. The 1993 USBC Masters champion.
We talked about Tim Benson was at plus 23 with that 129. He's over on 23 and 24 this game. 3 more opens this game. He can double this 10th. He threw the first, but he can double the 10th for 167. He's going to finish right around plus 100 even after a rough final day here at the Senior Masters. Alvin Liu, 157. He's going to finish at plus 218.
And will fall below that 215 average mark.
Yep.
So the waiting game for Alvin here.
Don't do that. I think that was it.
Plus 217.
That was the last pair in the house. No.
We're still finishing up on 23 and 24, but we will use this opportunity to wrap up. You guys can watch the conclusion of that on our channel 23 through 26. They just have a few shots left, but we will be back for A Squad hitting the burn for the first time in approximately 1 hour here on BowlTV.com for the final round of qualifying at the 2019 USBC Senior Masters. We'll keep it short and sweet this time, so big shout out to our tournament staff helping out this week, our host center, Samstown. Mr. Daniel Farish will eagerly await your report from Norm to start our next block in 1 hour, but until then, thank you for joining us once again here today. So for Daniel Farish, I'm Aaron Smith. We'll be back here on BowlTV, 1 hour, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon local time, for continued coverage of qualifying 2019 USBC Senior Masters. Thanks again.